Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So my name's Katie and today we're doing episode 2 in my little recent reads series to try and catch you all up on what I've been reading. So yeah, if you missed the first one, I'll leave it linked in the description, where I talk about some other books I've read recently in case you're interested. And in episode 1 I had quite a lot of favourites, like new favourites. There's about 10 minutes of me gushing about Light from Uncommon Stars, which I highly recommend. So in this one, I don't know if I have any 5 stars, but I definitely have quite a few 4 stars, which I really enjoyed. So I'll just get started. So the first book I read was All of Us Villains, which was an arc, and it's by Amanda Foody and another one, Christine Lynn Herman, I think. But I really like Amanda Foody's books. I've read the Ace of Spades ones, and also I read Wilder Law, which is her middle grade. So I really like her as an author. And I think I gave this one 3.5 stars because I did sort of enjoy it, but there were a few issues that I had with it. But the premise is really cool. So it's almost a bit like the Hunger Games type thing, but it's this kind of small like town type thing. And every blood moon, which maybe every like 25 years, I think, there is a competition where from like the 7 sort of important families in the town, and they all have to like sacrifice one member to be in this competition where there's like 7 of them, and they all have to try and kill each other. And I think it's in order so the magic of the town can like be used, or it's something to do with the magic. So if this kind of ritual where these 7 people kill each other, or there's one victor obviously, but if that doesn't happen, then all the magic from the town will disappear. And the family that wins gets this like high magic, so they become a very powerful family. We're following 4 of the characters who are in this competition. So actually one of them isn't initially in the competition, but so 4 characters from 4 of the main families in the village. And so the Lows are a family who've historically always kind of won, and they're a very powerful family. So we follow Alistair Lowe. So he is very much kind of a prodigy, and he at the start of the book is kind of ready to win and be villainous, but then it's discovered that the Lows maybe have a kind of darker secret of why they keep winning. And then Alistair kind of throughout the book reckons with like, does he want to live up to his family's legacy, or does he want to kind of follow his heart? I don't know if that's the right thing really, but yeah, so that's him. And then we also have a character called Isabel, who's sort of, she was the first one to like be announced as one of the competitors, and she's sort of been thrust into like fame because this secret like ritual has always been hidden from the world, but suddenly this year it's been leaked, and so people now know about it. So it's like become this huge like media circus. So she's kind of she didn't really want to be in the competition in the first place, but now she's like seen as this, she's kind of almost the face of the thing because she's the first one and she's had all this like media attention. So that's her. And then there's another character called Gavin, who's very much the underdog. He's from like this family which is like the kind of the mess basically, but he is very driven and he is like determined to prove himself and win. And actually Gavin was probably my favourite. I really liked him. He is probably the most like morally sort of grey out of the 4, and I feel like he is a character that I was kind of expecting all the characters to be like. I'll talk about that in a bit. But yeah, I really liked him. And then Bryony, who initially her little sister kind of gets put forward for the competition. She is the one who finds out that the competition is not exactly what it seems, so she then tries to get herself into the competition and then has to sort of dismantle it from the inside, because that's then what the plot becomes. So I thought it was just gonna be this like murder competition, but actually it's about the characters then trying to sort of dismantle the system from the inside. That's really kind of what the story is about, I would say. So I feel like the characters, if you're looking for like really morally grey characters, it's not really it. Like the characters are fundamentally quite good people. I feel like it's just because they've been thrust into a bad situation and they sort of have to make the best of it, which is an interesting like perspective. But I feel like the advertising around the book is slightly misleading. So yeah, I feel like it's more characters who are fundamentally good people, but they've just been put in a bad situation. Except, I guess, towards the end, and especially Gavin as well. He sort of goes a bit ruthless. But it's almost like they've been taught all their lives that they have to be like evil, but actually they're kind of discovering that maybe they don't. So I feel like actually the issues I had with the book were not really to do with the book itself, it's more to do with how it's marketed, because I feel like it's not quite what it says on the tin. So Gavin was definitely my favourite character. I really liked Bryony. I quite liked Alistair. I didn't really care for Isabel that much. So I guess that sort of balanced out. And then the kind of main relationship in the book, I just thought was so there to just further the plot. Like, there was no chemistry whatsoever. Like, literally more chemistry with the tree. But yeah, I feel like Gavin had the best chemistry with everyone, basically. Yeah, and also I've seen it advertised as like queer book, but there isn't really much. I would say Gavin is bisexual, but I don't know if there's really any other characters. But yeah, it frustrates me a bit because there's clearly so much better chemistry with like the same-sex type couples, but then it just fell apart for a stupid het ship. I think I explained it a bit better in my written review if you want to look on Goodreads. Okay, so then after I read The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman, which I gave 3.5 stars as well. So I really like this one. I feel like Neil Gaiman has a very cool writing style. Like, it's very unique. I don't even know how to explain it. But I feel like this book just really captured that sort of sense of like childhood playing in like the woods or the forest, and like that kind of sense of wonder, I think was really well. And almost like it's slightly, I wouldn't say it was horror exactly, but it's just slightly unsettling, the kind of plot type thing. And I like the sort of ghosty type elements. And I think one thing that really added to this was the illustrations. So this copy has like, you probably can't see any, like quite a lot of illustrations throughout. And I thought that really added to the sense of atmosphere, which I liked. I like the cat. I liked seeing the cats. There was quite a few cats. But yeah, it's like that sense of like fantastical when you're a child. So the main character, he is basically reflecting on his childhood when he kind of had this slightly mysterious experience with sort of the farmhouse down the road, and the character, I think it's Letty, and they're almost like witches, and he just sort of experiencing some weird things, and like he has a kind of evil stepmother. No, it's not even a stepmother, it's like the evil like nanny. I don't really know. So yeah, it's a bit weird, it's a bit spooky, it's very nostalgic, but yeah, so I feel like I would recommend it. I feel like it could easily become a sort of classic type, but I feel like with any like classic that you read, it's very well like written, but it's not always the most like enjoyable reading experience. Like I did like reading it, but I didn't like fall in love with the characters type thing. It's very much there to serve its themes, I guess that's what I would say. But I would still recommend it, and I'm glad I read it and own it, so yeah. Then I read the first two books in the Rainwild Chronicles. So the first one is Dragon Keeper, and then the second one is Dragon Haven. And so I did not go in with the highest expectations, because I have not heard great things about the Rainwild Chronicles. But actually, I really enjoyed them. I gave both of them 4 stars. They're not, I don't think they're Robin Hobb's best work. And to be honest, they don't quite feel like Robin Hobb books. Like, they definitely feel nothing like the what's it called, the Farseer books. But they do have slightly similar vibes to Ship of Magic, because it is kind of that same world type thing. And I like seeing a few of the Ship of Magic characters, like just the crumbs. But the thing I love about these books is it's like watching a trashy soap opera. Like, there is so much drama and so much angst, and the plot leaves a bit to be desired, but it's just made up for it by the character drama. Like, all the interpersonal drama is so juicy, and like the absolute ridiculousness of it just adds to it. Like, it's just such an enjoyable reading experience. Yeah, I don't know, I just really liked it. And I liked being back in the Rain Wilds, actually. That is interesting. And like seeing the dragons is kind of cool. But it's just the kind of characters in the drama was fun and juicy, so I enjoyed it. So we're basically following a few characters. So Thymara, who is a Rain Wilder, and she sort of joins this like mission type thing to go and rescue these, or no, I think they're not rescuing the dragons, they're going with these newly hatched dragons who are sort of quite decrepit. I'm not sure that's the best word. They're not Tintaglia, who is the dragon, and they're going to find this mysterious city called Calsingra, who the dragons have said there's like hidden treasures and stuff. So that's that, and so they're going on this mission. So yeah, Thymara is this like little Rain Wilder girl who's sort of growing into her, I guess her story's a bit coming of age almost. And then we're also following Alice, who she is Alice I think it is, and she sort of gets unwittingly into this marriage with this character called Hest. Well, no, she agrees to the marriage, but it's very much like an arranged marriage, and I don't think Elise quite knows what she's letting herself in for, because Hest is an absolute twat head. But yeah, so Elise is in this very unhappy marriage to Hest, but when they agreed to be engaged, one of the conditions was Elise would be able to go and like research dragons, because she is like very much into dragons, and like that's her life goal, to find these dragons and like visit the dragons once. So I can't remember exactly what happens, but anyway, they get Hest to agree to let her go, but with her goes Cedric, who is Hest's like assistant type character. But I love Cedric, but Hest and Cedric are actually like in a relationship, although that is another very abusive relationship. Hest is just an overall, yeah, dickhead. But so Elise and Cedric end up going to the Rain Wilds. So, and then they join this mission for with the dragons going to Calsingra. Yeah, so there's a few other characters as well, but I feel like they're the main POVs. You also follow the POV of one of the dragons, and the second book is just them all on this barge, and there's so much drama going down on this barge. But I really like it. And there's a few other the dragon keepers with Thymara, like there's her friend Tats, and then there's this kind of self-appointed leader, and then there's this other like kid called Rapscal, and so there's quite a few characters. And then there's the captain of the ship called Leftrin. I liked him as a character, he's very interesting. Yeah, so it's basically them going on this mission. But yeah, there's a lot of juicy drama, and in the second one especially, it's like pretty much all like relationship drama, but I was living for it. And seeing both Cedric and Elise actually getting out of this abusive relationship and discovering like their like worth themselves, I really liked. And I really liked both their like new love interests. Like I was quite invested in those romances, especially Cedric and his relationship to the dragons, because at first he's very kind of dismissive of them, but in the second one especially, he sort of has this bond with the dragon, and seeing that kind of relationship grow, and I really like that aspect of it as well. So I actually really enjoyed the books, and I'm reading the third one now, so but I've only barely started it. But so having said I like both main relationships, my top ship for the series is Hest and getting his balls chopped off, because he deserves it. Then I read Into the Dying Light by Katie Rose Poole, and this is the final book in the Age of Darkness, I think. Something like that. There Will Come a Dark. No, the first one is called There Will Come a Darkness, but I'm not entirely sure what the series name is. And I've really enjoyed these actually. I think the second one is still my favourite, but I feel like it's really, really solid YA fantasy, and I think it's a series that will appeal to a lot of adult fantasy fans, because I feel like there's a very interesting kind of thematic elements, especially with religion and the kind of prophecy, and like the way sort of people are manipulated into believing in certain things, and how that kind of affects like who's in charge and how power is distributed. And it's very interesting, and I really like all the characters. I think in this book especially, the author manages really well quite a large group of characters who are all together. And you do get quite a few of the POVs. I think not every single character has a POV who is like in the main group, but a lot of them do. And I feel like she just balances really well that whole group dynamic and not letting certain characters like overshadow others. And yeah, I feel like that was done really well, because in the previous books they've all kind of been separated and had slightly separate storylines, whereas in this one it's more everyone's together. So I really like that. I like the relationships in the book. I feel like this recent reads is just all relationship stuff. But yeah, I especially like Jude and Anton. Their relationship in this book was quite I like the sort of I don't know if direction is the right word, but the kind of communication that they had in the different struggles, and like this kind of commitment to duty versus commitment to love type thing. And then one of my favourite relationships is Ephra and Ilya, I think that's his name, Anton's brother anyway, and they are like the best like enemies to lovers type. They're true enemies, and they have the best like angst and banter. Oh, it's so good. I'm very invested in their like relationship. And because Ilya is, especially in the first book, he is very much the antagonist. And like seeing his arc throughout the series, I just really love. Yeah. And yeah, I like Bero as well in this book, and because she's kind of the book is mainly, so Bero has this kind of evil god inside her, and the book is basically them trying to get the god out without causing world destruction. So yeah, I think it's a very enjoyable series and I'd highly recommend, and I thought the conclusion was really good. I gave it 4 stars, so yeah. And then I read Unlocked, which is the book like 8.5 in Keeper of the Lost Cities. So it's basically a novella, but the book itself is quite big, because a huge chunk of the book is like little activities and like extra bits. Like there's like registry files, which is like a thing the characters have, and then there's like like different exploring different parts of the world. So I feel like if you're actually a middle grade reader and you like are an 11 or 12-year-old girl, you would really love it. Like I know I would have loved it like as a 10-year-old. But to me that part of the book was like okay, like it was, I mean I listened to the audiobook, so I did kind of listen to it, and I especially liked Keith and Dex's registry files. I thought they were quite funny. And I feel like it would be really good to read before the final book in the series, because it was a good recap of everything that's happened. And then the novella at the end, I really enjoyed the novella. So my rating was really more of the novella. And it was just nice, and I especially, so it's just like a little bit of story of kind of how things ended off in book 8, and then it tying towards the start of the final book. And I think the author had originally said this was originally the start of book 9, but I feel like it worked quite well as a novella. And I especially like Keith and Dex's friendship in this novella. Yeah, I like that aspect of it. And also Sophie working with Orelai, who, if you've read the series, you will know that there is a interesting relationship between them. So yeah, I just enjoyed it, and I like getting Keith's POV because I love Keith. He's my favourite character. Yeah, so that's that one. I would if you like the series, I would recommend reading the novella. Like it feels like, I mean obviously it's 8 books into a series, so you're not going to read it if you haven't read the other books in the series. But I feel like you should definitely read it, I'm thinking, before book 9, because it is some fairly major like plot points type things. So yeah, I enjoyed that one. And then I read The Stone Knife by Anna Stevens, and I really enjoyed this one. It's kind of, we're following this, so there's this Empire of the Drowned. I think that's actually the name of the series, but they're basically kind of trying to expand their empire into the kind of local, like, I don't think they're tribes. I don't know what the, oh, it's upside down. Oh, I put it on the wrong way around. Okay. Yeah, into the like local peoples. So I guess kind of like colonising. And so we're following a bit one of the main ladies in this empire, and she is just kind of vying for power. She is definitely very kind of evil, but I always love following a evil female villain. Yes, and anyway, they kind of worship these creatures. I think they're called Setame, and they are essentially like evil mermaid siren type characters, who sort of live in the water, and then they will come out and like eat people. And they also sing. And so yeah, so this empire, it has this like song running through it. So everyone in the empire can like hear the song, and it's almost like not a hive mind exactly, but it sort of kind of brainwashes them a little bit. And then we're also following some of the characters who are living outside the this empire. So Tyan and Lilia, and they are like a couple who I really like seeing, that like an established queer couple. It was nice. And they basically, Lilia's like a soldier warrior type, and he goes to he's trying to fight back against, and then Tyan's this like spirit wanderer guide person. So they're basically trying to work against the empire, but then Tyan goes to the empire as like an ambassador, and then discovers that things are maybe darker than they seem. And then also following another character called, what's her name, Essa, and she is also part of the tribe that Tyan and Lila are from. And she fights the Setame, or I can't remember what they're called, the drowned. I think they call them the drowned as well. So she fights them, and she's also like fighting for her kind of village. And yeah, so that's basically kind of what happens. But then the empire starts sort of getting even darker, because these kind of dark rituals start happening, and the song starts kind of getting corrupted, and a lot of drama kicks off. So I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4.25 stars. I thought the characters were really good. I like the plot. It was very interesting. It's like over 600 pages, but oh no, it's not. It's nearly 600 pages, but I was kind of kept engaged throughout, so I definitely recommend it. And I'm looking forward to the sequel. So yeah, would recommend. Okay, then next I read the Shadow Saint and the Broken God by Gareth Hanrahan. So the first book is The Gutter Prayer. So I don't really know how I feel about the series. Like I kept reading to the end, partly because I had an arc of the Broken God, but I don't feel like it's a series I super enjoyed. Like I think I had a reasonable time while reading, but it's definitely something that's just kind of left my memory. So the Shadow Saint I gave 2.5 stars, but actually on reflection I think I did like it more than I thought. Like, I feel like it's kind of a series where I do actually really like the characters, but just something about I don't know if it's quite the writing or like the plot, it just doesn't quite fit in my brain. I don't know how to explain it. But so book 2 kind of follows more Elladora, who is Carrie, who's the main character in book 1, her cousin. And there's a lot of sort of city politics that goes on. And I think the book was a bit of a drag for me to get into, but then towards the end it actually really picked up, so I liked it then. And then book 3, I thought was probably my favourite actually of the 3, and we're kind of following Carrie again, and I really like her storyline. And then we're also following this story going on with like these dragon cult, and it's all a bit weird. Guild, like thieves guild, and they are, I think it's called the Brotherhood or something, and they're trying to like, there's a new leader who is this, it's called Rasky, and he's like part of these dragon riding people, so the dragon people, they're very culty, and that's where it kind of comes in. But then Rasky sort of has this connection with Spar, who's another one of the main characters from book 1, and I thought that was quite interesting how that sort of storyline played out. But I think if you read the series up to, I think if you enjoyed the Shadow Saint and you enjoyed the Gutter Prayer, you definitely enjoyed the Broken God. I think it's very good for the series, but I just feel like something about the series I didn't love. But I gave the Broken God 3 stars. I just feel like they're really hard for me to get into. Like it takes at least like 30% until I start actually feeling like in the book, whereas normally it takes about like 10% of a book. So yeah, I don't know if I'd recommend the series. I feel like if you like the Gutter Prayer, you'll probably like the rest of the series, because they are kind of similar. And I thought the Gutter Pro was okay, but yeah, like, I don't know, I'll just move on. Okay, then I read The Queer Principles of Kit Webb, which is like a historical romance, because I've been a bit into historical romances. And I think I saw someone talk about this one on Twitter and say it was good, so I thought I'd check it out. And I enjoyed it, actually. It was way more steamy than I was expecting, but yeah, it was good. I listened to the audio, which I don't think I really like the narrator, actually, so I'm not sure I'd recommend the audiobook. But yeah, I like the whole so it's kind of, it reminded me a little bit of A Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue. Now I know that author is very like problematic, so I don't really support that book anymore, but it definitely, I did used to really love that book. Yeah, so I enjoyed this one. So we're following Kit Webb, who's this, I think he used to be a thief, like known as Glad Hand Jack or something. And he is now running his little coffee shop and has like left his life of crime behind. And then this noble character called Percy, and Percy's family, his father, I think it's his father, has all these secrets, and he has, I think Percy is secretly like a bastard, but his father doesn't know that Percy knows. And then it's not Percy's sister. Percy's like childhood friend has now married Percy's father. So it's kind of like his stepmother, but not really, because they're friends. They sort of team up together and they decide that they need to take his father down. So they then go and try and recruit this guy, Kit, because they know he has a history of being a criminal, to try and rob Percy's father. And then so then they come to a deal that Kit will train Percy so Percy can pull off the robbery himself. So that's basically the story, but it's really a romance. And I really liked it. I like the characters, like banter and stuff. And I feel like, because I've been liking historical romance recently, and I think I'll talk about this in my next one, but I read The Hellions Waltz by Olivia Waite, which is kind of a similar thing but sapphic instead, where it's like a character who's like a con artist and then a character who's a noble, and I don't know, I just really like that dynamic, especially in historical romances. So yeah, I definitely enjoyed that one. Yes, that's that one. And then I also read The Wake of the Phoenix by Chelsea Harper, I think, and I enjoyed this one. It's kind of like a standard, like not a standard fantasy, but it felt very kind of classic fantasy. There's a lot of kind of politics and scheming. We're following this character called Arkin, who was a kind of not exactly a war hero, but sort of a famous figure in this like recent civil war that they've had. And now he's kind of in charge of this town, but he's having trouble kind of wrangling the nobles, and they're causing a lot of problems for him. And he also has his sister who is kind of helping him out, like politically. She's a bit more kind of savvy with the like international relations type thing. So yeah, we follow her perspective as well. And then also this character called Lasher, who is like Arkin's bodyguard. And so they work together in the war, and they sort of have like a secret relationship, although it's very much like, it's very angsty, because like they can't be together but they want to be type thing. And then yeah, and Lasher can sort of see the future, so he sort of guides decisions, and like, yeah. And then we're also at the same time following this little character who's a thief, whose name I can't remember, but she gets recruited into, so her brother's been taken in by this like criminal people, and in order to try and save him, she then agrees to infiltrate like one of the noble households and like rob them or something. But then she sort of gets pulled into Arkin and Lasher's like story. So they're sort of following both of those, and I like the story overall. I gave it 3.5 stars because I feel like the characters were like, they were good characters, but I didn't super like really care about them. And I thought the plot was interesting. Definitely there was some good politics and like drama. And I think if you enjoy like fantasy, especially yeah, that kind of like political type fantasy, I think it is very enjoyable to read. And I would definitely probably read the sequel. Yeah, I just feel like it wasn't anything super special, if that makes sense. So yeah, so that is all the books I'm going to talk about here. Let me know in the comments a book you've read recently and enjoyed, or a book you've read recently and hated. I would love to know. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and consider subscribing if you haven't already. And I hope you're all having a really great day, and I will see you next time.